welcome to an adventure where secrets are baked in every corner. Gather around with your knitting needles or a cozy cup of tea, and let's dive into a story of mystery, laughter, and unexpected family ties. Today, we begin a captivating tale of Luna and Hattie, an amateur detective duo whose journey will take us through the art of solving mysteries, one clue at a time. It's not just about the intrigue, it's about friendship, the warmth of a shared laugh, and the thrill of unraveling the past. So, are you ready to join us on this extraordinary adventure? Chapter 1: A Tree with Twisted Roots. Hattie Thompson was engaged in a heated debate with her fern about the merits of indirect sunlight when the door to her office flew open with a drama usually reserved for the climax of a soap opera. The fern, being the stoic type, didn't respond, which only further irritated Hattie. "It's not about what you want," she muttered to the plant. "You're photosynthetic. I'm the one with a complex emotional spectrum." Before she could lecture the plant on the importance of compromise in a shared living space, her thoughts were interrupted by the young woman who stormed into the room, looking as if she had just escaped a particularly stressful family reunion. This was Luna Marshall, a history student turned genealogist, with eyes as wide as saucers and an aura of desperation that was almost palpable. "Miss Thompson?" Luna gasped, clutching a stack of papers to her chest as though they held state secrets. "I need your help. My family tree is a lie." Hattie tilted her head, eyeing the newcomer with a mix of curiosity and amusement. "Does it involve secret twins, mistaken identities, and a dash of inheritance drama?" she asked, her tone light yet laced with the hope of intrigue. Luna nodded vigorously, sending her papers into disarray. "It's my grandmother," she explained. "I think she might have been someone else." "Well, sit down and spill the beans, Miss Marshall," Hattie said, clearing a space on her cluttered desk with a sweep of her arm. "I'm all ears. Unless you're talking to the fern, then I'm only half listening." Luna, with a nod more vigorous than a bobblehead on a dirt road, took the proffered seat, sending a cloud of dust into the air that had Hattie waving her hand like a maestro conducting an orchestra of allergenes. "So your grandmother was incognito. A regular Jane Doe with a past so secret, even her shadow was in the dark," Hattie summarized, her eyes twinkling with the prospect of a good mystery. "Yes, exactly," Luna said, her voice a cocktail of excitement and anxiety. "I've been piecing together our family history, and there's a gap where my grandmother's past should be. It's as if she popped into existence at the age of 30. A spontaneous generation," Hattie mused. "Darwin would have had a field day with that one." The joke sailed over Luna's head like a frisbee on a windy day. "But it's more than just a missing past. I found this among her belongings." She slid a photograph across the desk. Hattie picked up the picture and studied it. It showed a young woman, elegant yet enigmatic, standing in front of a bakery that Hattie recognized as the one that made Eclairs so good they could make a grown man weep. "And this woman is," Hattie prompted, peering over her glasses. "My grandmother, or so I thought. I found out the bakery and everyone in that photo is from a small town in France, and my grandmother never left Ohio as far as anyone knew." Hattie leaned back, the gears in her detective brain whirring like a hamster that had just downed an espresso. "So we have a grandmother who might be an international woman of mystery, a family tree with more holes than my favorite socks, and a French connection that would make even Kevin Bacon raise an eyebrow." "Exactly," Luna said, leaning forward. "I need to know who she was, and I think there's more to it. Family whispers, hushed conversations and pointed looks." Hattie's grin spread slowly. "Family whispers are my third favorite kind of whispers, right after library whispers, and the ones that involve secret pizza recipes. Luna blinked, clearly not following the detective's train of thought, or perhaps she just didn't care for pizza. "Can you help me?" "Miss Marshall," Hattie said with a flourish, standing up and almost knocking over a stack of papers. "You had me at my family tree is a lie. Consider me your Sherlock Holmes, if Holmes had a penchant for indoor gardening and an aversion to deerstalker hats." And with that, the duo set off on an adventure that promised more twists and turns than Hattie's beloved mystery novels. It was a case that would require all of Hattie's wit, Luna's genealogical skills, and possibly a good eclair or two to unravel. Chapter 2, Eclairs and Enigmas. Hattie and Luna's quest for the sugared truth had whisked them away faster than a meringue in a mixer, straight to the heart of France. As they stepped out onto the cobbled streets of a quaint town, the scent of butter and a hint of intrigue filled the air. "I can't believe we're in France," Luna marveled, clutching her notepad like a culinary tourist ready to devour each crumb of history. Hattie adjusted her beret, an accessory chosen less for style and more for its detective connotations. Ah, France, the land of love, liberty, and the pursuit of pastries. Their first stop was Le Gâteau Chuchoté, a bakery known for its whispered secrets and eclairs that could silence a room. The bell above the door tinkled like the laughter of a conspiratorial audience as they entered. Do you smell that?" Hattie inhaled deeply. "That's the scent of sugar, secrets, and suspense." Luna rolled her eyes. "Or it's just pastries, Hattie." The bakery was a vantage vignette, with glass cases filled to bursting with confectionery delights. The walls were lined with sepia-toned photographs of the town's history, each one a silent witness to the decades of drama and buttercream. Madame Pat, the bakery's matriarch and rumored keeper of secrets, greeted them with a smile that said, "I have stories, but they're kneaded into the bread." "We're here about the photograph," Luna began, but Hattie cut in with a grandiose wave of her hand. "Madame Pat, we are on a quest for the sweet truth, one that I believe is piped into the very eclairs of this establishment." The baker's eyes twinkled with mirth. "Ah, my eclairs are full of many things, but truth? That is for you to discover." As they talked, a cacophony of voices bubbled from the back room. Hattie's ears perked up like a cat at the can opener. "What's that? A party?" "That," Madame Pat said, "is the morning meeting of the Chuchoté Book Club." "A book club in a bakery?" Luna asked, skeptical. "More like a front for town gossip," Hattie whispered with a wink. "And where there's gossip, there's gold." With a nod from Madame Pate, they slipped into the back room where a group of the town's elder statespeople sat around a table laden with pastries and coffee, arguing not about characters and plot, but about who saw whom doing what and when. Hattie grabbed a Danish, claiming investigative privileges, and leaned in. "Ladies, gents, we hear you're the ones to talk to if one wishes to knead through the dough of the past." The room fell silent, a dozen pairs of eyes sizing them up before a spry octogenarian with a shock of white hair and a laugh like a box of crackers breaking opened the floor. "Ah, you're the detective, Harriet Thompson, right? We heard about you. You're the one who solved the mystery of the missing meatloaf at the county fair," she cackled. "That was one saucy investigation," Hattie quipped, earning a chorus of chuckles. "Now we're digging into something a bit more historical," Luna said, producing the photograph. The elders leaned in, spectacles glinting as they peered at the image. Murmurs and nods went around like a game of Chinese whispers until one sharp-eyed woman pointed a trembling finger at the photograph. "I remember her. She was as mysterious as a locked diary," the woman said. "Came here from nowhere. Left the same way." "Any whispers about where she might have gone?" Hattie asked, her voice low and conspiratorial. France, a voice croaked from the corner. She had a lover, a French baker, taught Madame Pat everything she knows. Hattie's eyes gleamed. A French connection, a love story baked into these walls. This mystery has layers, like a fine millefeuille. Chapter 3. A Slice of the Past. Having kneaded through the dough of history at Le Gâteau Chuchoté, Hattie and Luna found themselves at the precipice of discovery and the edge of a very long bread knife. Armed with the name Henri Leclair and a stomach full of pastries, they embarked on their next leg of investigation. Right, so Henri Leclair is the yeast of our worries, Hattie said as they strolled down the cobblestone street that seemed to croon chansons of the past. He's the breadcrumb leading to your grandmother's secret life. We just have to follow the trail. Luna, looking every bit the part of a detective's sidekick, in a scarf she had wrapped around her neck like a French ingenue, nodded. But where do we start? It's not like he's listed in the phone book under bakers of ill repute. Hattie stopped in front of a quaint little building with a sign that read The Crusty Croissant. Here, she declared with the confidence of a cat who had just decided on its favorite nap spot. The bell above the door announced their entry with a jingle that sounded suspiciously like a giggle. The interior was a cozy homage to the art of the croissant, flaky, buttery, and golden as a midsummer morning. A man with a mustache so impressive it deserved its own postal code looked up from behind the counter. Bonjour, welcome to the Crusty Croissant. How may I butter your bread today? We're looking for a bit of history with our breakfast, Hattie said, sidling up to the counter with the ease of a regular. The name Henri Leclair ring any bells? Or perhaps brioche? The mustached man stroked his facial masterpiece, his expression turning as solemn as a judge at a pie contest. Leclair, he murmured, a name that carries much weight. And butter, here in this town. Luna leaned forward, her eyes wide. You knew him? The baker's nod was slow, thoughtful. Knew him? A man whose pastries were poetry, whose eclairs were epics in cream and chocolate. And where might we find this culinary bard? Hattie asked, her voice laced with as much anticipation as one might have when awaiting a soufflé. The baker pointed out the window to a winding road that disappeared into a cluster of trees. Follow the path to the old mill. That's where Henry hung his hat and his apron. But beware, the road is as twisted as a pretzel and twice as salty. With a new destination and a warning worthy of a fairy tale, they thanked the baker and set out. The path was indeed a serpentine stretch, meandering through the countryside like a stream of consciousness from a particularly loquacious novelist. At last, they arrived at the old mill, which now served as a makeshift museum to the art of baking. The mill was a treasure trove of culinary antiquities, from ancient ovens to sepia photographs of bakers past. As they explored, they stumbled upon a dusty, leather-bound book. Luna opened it with reverence, and out fluttered a postcard, a picture of a young woman standing in front of Le Gâteau Chuchoté with a message scrawled on the back in delicate script. To Henri, my heart is yours, as is the secret of the Chuchoté, forever entwined, M. Luna's hands trembled as she held the postcard. M for Marshall. Hattie's grin was as wide as the brim of her unneeded but fashionably relevant beret. Looks like we found the filling to our eclair, Luna. Your grandmother had a secret recipe after all. Chapter 4. The Secret Society of the Baked Good. The mill's old walls, lined with the relics of pastry yore, seemed to whisper secrets in a dialect of dough and dust. The creak of the floorboards under Hattie's feet was like the murmuring of an old baker, reluctant to give up his trade secrets. Luna, postcard clutched in hand, was as wide-eyed as a child who had just discovered the cookie jar wasn't as out of reach as previously believed. This is incredible. My grandmother's initials, the bakery, it's all connected. Hattie, who had donned a mustache of flour from an investigative poke into a sack of farine, nodded sagely. My dear Watson, or should I say, my dear Crumpton, this mystery is beginning to rise, and I do believe it's a sourdough. They moved deeper into the mill, which was less a museum and more a mausoleum for Bayone Baguetes. Here, the silence was punctuated only by the sound of their breath and the occasional rustle of a mouse critiquing the quality of the grain. Look at this, Luna said, gesturing to a faded photograph of a group of bakers, each one wearing a hat that was comically large, as though their ideas needed room to grow. The Baker's Dozen, Hattie read aloud from a plaque beneath the picture, a secretive guild of the greatest bakers in France, known for their revolutionary recipes and missing members. Mysteries upon mysteries, Luna murmured, the plot thickening like a bechamel on the stove. A sudden noise startled them, a thud, then a scrape. They turned to see a shadowy figure slipping through a door marked privé. Without a second thought, they gave chase, their feet thumping a staccato rhythm on the wooden planks. The door led to a cellar where the air was cool and the smell of yeast hung heavy. Barrels of flour stood like silent guards, and in the corner a figure hunched over a workbench. Excusez-moi, Hattie called out, her French accented with a twang of bravado. The figure turned, and they found themselves staring into the eyes of an elderly man, his hands as gnarled as the twisted loaves that surrounded him. I am Henri, he said, his voice the crackle of a fresh croissant, and you are the seekers of the secret. Indeed we are, Hattie replied, tipping her beret. We've been following the Crumbs, and they led us to you. Henry's eyes flicked to the postcard in Luna's hand. Ah, the chuchoté. That is a chapter of my life long closed. But for what purpose do you open this old book? Luna stepped forward, her resolve as firm as a well-kneaded dough. We're trying to uncover my grandmother's past. She was connected to the bakery to you. Her name was Marianne, Henry finished, his eyes glinting with recognition and a hint of sorrow. Yes, I remember her well. The cellar, already chill, seemed to drop a few degrees as Henry recounted the tale of Marianne Marshall, a woman of beauty and mystery who had captured the heart of the town and left an indelible mark on the Guild of Bakers. Hattie listened, her detective's mind piecing together the narrative like a patchwork quilt of clues. And the secret of the chuchoté? What is it? Henri hesitated, then walked to a barrel. He twisted a knot in the wood, and with a click the barrel swung open to reveal a hidden compartment. Inside was an aged Eclairs, its filling long since crystallized into history. The secret, Henri said, was not just in the recipe, but in the love that it represented, the love between a baker and his muse. Luna reached out to touch the Eclair, a tangible relic of her grandmother's past. And now? Now, Henry said, a smile creasing his weathered face. You must take it and discover its true flavor. Chapter 5. Crumbs of the Past. Back in the warmth of the French midday sun, Hattie and Luna emerged from the mill, their minds as stuffed as a double-crust pie with the revelations Henry had served up. So my grandmother was the Mona Lisa of the milling world, Luna mused, the postcard of Marianne tucked safely in her journal like a pressed flower, a muse to the flour dusted and the yeast risen. And Henri was her Da Vinci, Hattie added, her eyes squinting against the sunlight as if trying to envision the romance. A love needed in intense secrecy, proving that sometimes the best ingredients are the ones you keep off the recipe card. They wandered through the town, past windows adorned with gingham curtains that fluttered like the coquettish eyelashes of the village. Hattie's stomach rumbled, a reminder that their last meal was nothing but a flaky memory. "I think it's time we buttered our own bread," Hattie declared, pointing to a bistro that promised le meilleur sandwich de France. Seated at a table that wobbled like a novice unicyclist, they ordered a pair of sandwiches, thick with ham and cheese, and a side of mystery-solving motivation, disguised as fries. Luna pulled out the Eclair, now more of a historical artifact than a treat. "Do you think it's a clue to where we go next?" Hattie, her mouth half full of sandwich, nodded. "In my extensive experience of dessert-related detective work, I've found that pastries are often more than they appear. This eclair could be the Rosetta Stone of baked goods." They examined the eclair, its surface cracked like an old painting. Within the fissures, a faint dusting of sugar still clung to life. Luna gasped. "There's something written here under the sugar. It's a message." Hattie leaned in, her sandwich forgotten. The message, written in elegant script, was a riddle. "In the town where whispers dwell, find the baker with a story to tell. Under the bell that rings at noon, discover the secret of the macaroon." "A riddle!" Hattie exclaimed, clapping her hands with glee. Marianne was clever. She left a breadcrumb trail of pastry puns. They paid for their meal with haste, leaving a generous tip and a dusting of crumbs in their wake. "The bell that rings at noon," Luna pondered. "That could be any number of places." Hattie tapped her chin. "In a town like this, I'd wager it's the church. That's where all good secrets go to confess." With the riddle as their map, they found themselves standing before an ancient church, its bell tower rising like a crooked finger pointing to heaven. As they approached, the bell began to chime, its notes falling over the town like a soft rain. "There," Luna pointed to a small bakery nestled in the church's shadow. "La Macaron Mystique," read the sign, a promise of sweet secrets and almond flour. The bell ceased its tolling as they entered the bakery, the scent of almonds wrapping around them like a welcome from an old friend. Behind the counter stood a baker, his apron dusted with the evidence of his craft. "We're here about a secret," Hattie began, her voice as serious as a clown at a funeral. "A macaroon with a message." The baker's eyes gleamed with the knowledge of 1,000 recipes. "Ah, you seek the story of the almond. Come, let us speak where the sugar doesn't listen." The chapter would close with them following the baker to a back room, the walls lined with shelves of colorful macaroons, each one a capsule of flavor, and perhaps a piece of the puzzle. Thank you for joining us on these first chapters of Luna and Hattie's journey. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more. Your comments are the threads that weave our community together, so feel free to share your thoughts below. Looking for more captivating tales? Check out another story on our channel for more adventures. See you in the next chapter.